There's times where I'm on social media and there's always that one piece of news that you come across on social media that kind of just makes you want to step away for a couple moments because it just provokes like strong emotions in you. You could be sad, you could be angry, and you kind of feel that negativity flaring, and you're just like, all right, let me step away from the internet. I don't really get a lot of those instances, but this story was definitely one of them, and I wanted to share it with you because it finally came to a closure. We have a woman from Ohio by the name of Christelle who was recently sentenced to life in prison without parole because of child endangerment and aggravated murder after she abandoned her 16-month-old daughter in a home by herself, unsupervised, for 10 days while Christelle went on vacation to Detroit and Puerto Rico. We're kind of early into the year, so it's too early to start handing out like worst parent of the year awards or anything like that. But she's definitely up there. I don't know what comes across your mind to just abandon your child, let alone the fact they're 16 months old. I don't understand what makes you think that leaving your child there is okay. I don't understand why this woman would, what thought process came across her mind to think that, oh yeah, it's okay, I'm gonna be back, and by the time I come back, the baby's going to be okay. But before anything, let's get back to like the story, and I'm gonna fill you in real quick. So what happened was Christelle lives with a family. I don't know exactly the relations with her relatives, but she did have relatives in the house along with herself and the baby. I believe she's a single mother. And these relatives, I think there were like three, they went on their own vacation, so Christelle and the baby were by herself. Christelle wanted to go on her own vacation as well, so she left the baby behind. What I've heard in the articles, or heard, what I've read in the articles, is people saying that she somehow has this tendency of leaving kids unsupervised or unattended. They said that, they could have just not she could have just knocked on their door and just told them like, hey, can you take care of this baby? I'm gonna take a breather. I'm gonna go on vacation for like a week or so. And they would have been like, yeah, no problem. But I'm just sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, yeah, but she didn't do that. And the fact that this knowledge was known prior to her having a child is a bit scary. Like, we already know that she has a tendency to abandon her kids or to neglect her kids, yet she's still left in the care of a 16-month-old child. Like, there's no secondary parent or guardian there to help support Christelle, should say she wanted to go somewhere, for instance. Like, I don't understand what's going on there. It really just got me pissed the more I was reading it. So, anyways, let me just continue on before I take a detour. She went on vacation. She came back 10 days later. Baby's dead. Severe dehydration. I'm just gonna leave it at that because the way how they were just describing the scene, it was a little bit, I don't want to talk about it. But let's just say the baby died from dehydration. And when Christelle arrived back into her home, again, it was only just her that arrived. The baby was found dead, and she called the police. So the police investigated the situation, and they arrested her under the suspicion of, like, aggravated murder and child endangerment, abandonment. All those charges started sticking. And later on, they went through the courts, and the courts was kind of arguing in her defense. She went through, like, she's struggling emotionally, she's on antidepressants, so sometimes she gets overwhelmed over the thought of being a parent, and she just needs to step out and everything like that. And I'm sitting here like, yo, those antidepressants are doing some heavy lifting. Besides, trying to, like, handle depression, I didn't think antidepressants would be used as a defense for the fact as to why she left her child, a 16-month-old child at that, for 10 days. I don't think emotionally struggling justifies that. If any parent would abandon their child just because they were emotionally struggling, a lot of babies would be dying by now, but that's not the case. No one cares that you're emotionally or mentally struggling. You are a parent. You need to figure your shit out. If you need a breather or you need a couple days to yourself, you always have a support system that can help you out. You don't have to abandon your child to do that. There are resources that you can reach out to handle those kinds of things. But the last thing you should ever do, or you should never do, as a matter of fact, is leave your child in a house unsupervised by themselves for 10 days. I don't get it. I don't care if it was for one day. Anything could have happened in that one day. And you left your child there. I don't. Oh, my blood pressure is already raising just thinking about this. And the reason why I'm even talking about this is because it's so weird that even after she came back from vacation and found her child dead, she called the police. She called the police. I don't understand what outcome you was thinking that you was gonna get besides, hey, you said you left your child unsupervised. You went on vacation. You was gone for how long? 10 days and the child is dead? I don't know, ma'am. I might have to, take you to the station because that sounds kind of sus to me. I don't understand what she thought she was going to get from that. It's so fucking crazy. And it just made my blood boil. And the whole defense with the whole mental illness thing, like, I just despise that because it's not, mental health isn't like this get out of jail free card. Unless there is some strong evidence that indicate that, yes, your mental episode had something to do with this particular crime or played a strong role in this particular crime, this wasn't it. You literally went on vacation. Going on vacation doesn't sound like a depressive episode to me. I don't understand that. You had one job, and it was to take care of your child. I don't know what was so bad about taking your child with you. This could have been avoided, and instead you left your child there. I remember I saw some post on social media talking about, like, oh, like, maybe, she thought that the neighbors could have heard the baby crying because the baby was probably crying for days upon days upon days, and they could have just, broken into her home and pick up the baby and been like, oh yeah, everything is fine, Christelle. I have your child right here. She is such an angel. Enjoy yourself. I know you went through a lot. I've been a parent before. We all need a breather time and time again. We need our own space. Do your thing. I got things from here. No, I don't think that would have been the case. They probably would have called the police because, again, a child is at a dangerous situation where there's no parent or guardian to watch over them. I don't think, like, yes, neighbors can be the Good Samaritan and save the child. That's completely fine. But now you're going to have neighbors that have this immense guilt that had I listened or had I checked up on her, then maybe, just maybe, the baby would be alive. So there's, not to mention there's some stupidity going on Christelle's part, and that's an understatement. I can only imagine that there's a lot of guilt going on around her immediate vicinity, because you have neighbors that, know her and they see her as a friend and a neighbor and they care about her and her well-being, and of course they want what's best for the baby, but they wouldn't have imagined this to be the result, and this is where we are now, and that sucks. Last month, she pleaded guilty. She took a plea deal. If I remember correctly, she pleaded guilty to aggravated murder and endangerment of a child or of a minor, something along those parameters, at the exchange of dropping like 3 other charges, 2 of which was based on murder, and some other charge that was like a felony charge. Something about that. Despite her taking the plea deal, there was a possibility that she would face life in prison. So I guess they took the plea deal, thinking hopefully she doesn't have to serve life. Maybe she serves like a couple years, if that. Lo and behold, she was sentenced life behind bars and no parole on top of that. Honestly, I'm happy it came to that conclusion. Justice was served. She rightfully should be going to jail for life. Like, you killed your own child. Indirectly, yes, but you still killed your own child. You abandoned your child. You didn't take your role as a responsibility as a parent. Yeah, I'm having brain farts. You failed as a parent to take the responsibility of seeking out another parent or guardian to take care of your child. You didn't seek out resources to ensure that your child was in good hands. You just left your child on a crib and you just said, all right, I'm going on vacation. And that was it. I'm not understanding that. And it's not something for us to understand because that's not something we would ever want happen to any baby, any child, especially those that can't fend for themselves. You would have to have like a very, very cold place in your heart to even do something like that. But here we are. And she's now crying in court. And I'm like, I'm not understanding. Why are you crying? Why are you crying? You left your child by herself, a 16-month-old child. You come back from vacation, your child is dead, and you call the police and you fess up and say, yeah, I left my child unsupervised, unattended, uncared for, whatever. And now you're in court, they read your sentence and you're crying after that fact? Like, I'm gonna just leave it here because now I'm really getting angry right now, and I think that's justified. It's a justified response to hear things like that, but then it's also partly relieving to hear that justice is being served. And until then, guys, that's really all I have to say. I felt really passionate about this. This thing really like triggered me a little bit. You can already see that. I read this article last year and I'm like, yo, that is freaking crazy. And now I'm seeing this thing again resurface, and now all of that has been put at an end, and I'm pretty relieved about that. But until then, that's about it. Peace.